What's going on YouTube? Bandit here, back again with another Diablo 3 video. Today I've got a Demon Hunter build video for you. It's going to be a Cold Sentry build revolving around the 6-piece Marauder set, as well as using the Crider Shot bow here with our Bombardier's rucksack. And this is going to be a build that a lot of the top Demon Hunters were using in the PTR. And keep in mind though that it is very early in the patch, so there are some gear optimizations to be made, but this video is solely for the purpose of showing you the skills you're going to need, the gear you're going to need to get you headed in that right direction. And you're easily going to be able to clear T6s and some higher grade risks with this build. So I'm going to go over the skills you'll need, the gear you'll need, we're going to talk about the Paragon, and then if you stick around to the end, we will have some gameplay footage for you. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. I'll roll through the skills here, and then we'll roll back around, we'll talk about why they're important. So we've got Elemental Arrow with Frost Arrow, Cluster Arrow with Maelstrom, a Vault with Tumble, Preparation with Punishment, Sentry with Spitfire Turret, Companion with Wolf Companion, and for our passes, we've got Custom Engineering, Cold the Weak, Ballistics, and Awareness. Now for our Elemental Arrow here, this is going to be an arrow that does 330% weapon damage as cold, and it's going to split into up to 10 additional arrows. Enemies will be chilled by 60% for 1 second. Cluster Arrow Maelstrom, this is our big one here that we're going to try to spam as often as we can. 5 rockets that each deal 450% weapon damage as cold, and you're also going to gain 1% life for every enemy you hit. So that's a pretty big deal there. You're going to be wanting to do this as often as you can so you can heal your life up too. Vault with Tumble, you're going to use this for the purpose of basically getting the hell out of the way when you're in danger. With the Tumble rune, every other vault that you cast within 6 seconds will cost 50% less discipline, so that's good. And you can surely go other options here. I just prefer this one for that discipline reduction. I definitely prefer getting out of the way a little more often with a little bit of extra discipline if I can help it. So next up, we've got Preparation with Punishment. This one's important to have around as well. You're going to be doing a massive amount of damage with your Cluster Arrow skill, but the downside is that it's going to eat up a lot of your hatred in a matter of seconds. And with this skill and rune combo, you'll be able to restore 75 hatred instantly every 20 seconds, less your cooldown reduction percentage. So definitely want to keep that around for this build. Sentry with Spitfire Turret. You're going to see here that the Spitfire Turret is going to be firing homing rockets at random nearby enemies for 120% weapon damage as fire. And then we've got Companion with Wolf Companion here. And the Wolf Companion is just awesome because it sounds great. It's also got perks, but you'll see here, once you get your 2-piece Marauder set, you're going to have access to all of the Companions. And I'm just going to mention real quick that all the Companions are going to be tanking and attacking the enemies for you, so I won't get into exactly what percentages they'll do. But I will talk about a little bit of what you'll get every time you activate them. The Spider is going to throw some icky sticky webs at enemies within 25 yards, slowing them by 80% for 5 seconds. The Bat is going to grant you 50 hatred every time you cast, so you're going to want to keep that up too, because that Cluster Arrow with the Maelstrom is going to be eating up your hatred, so this Bat is going to be vital to keep around. And it's also going to not only attack for you, but you're going to gain 1 hatred per second while the Bat is active. So again, important for the Cluster Arrow. The Boar Companion, it's going to taunt enemies within 20 yards for 5 seconds, and it's also going to increase your life regeneration and give you 20% resist to all damage types. Your Ferret Companion here, it's going to instantly pick up golden health globes within 60 yards, and it'll also grant you 10% movement speed as well, so make sure you adjust your movement speed in your Paragon accordingly. And then, oh, sorry about that. We're going to go over to the Wolf Companion. This is my favorite one of the companions because it's going to give you 30% increased damage to all allies within 60 yards for 10 seconds when activated. And it howls, and that's probably my most favorite part of the companion skill is activating it and hearing the badass wolf howl. Alright, we'll go ahead and we'll get into our passives here. With Custom Engineering, we're not only increasing the duration of our sentries by 100%, but we're also increasing the maximum number of sentries from 2 to 3. And this will increase even more with the Bombardier's Rucksack, which I will talk to you about in a minute. Cold the Weak here, this is going to come into play with our Elemental Arrow with Frost Arrow. You'll see that is going to increase the damage against slowed or chilled enemies by 20%. Our ballistics passive, increased damage of rockets by 100%. And you'll see that we're going to be firing rockets here, 5 rockets to be exact, with our cluster arrow with Maelstrom, so that's going to benefit that greatly. And it's also going to shoot it has a chance to shoot a random homing rocket. That's going to do 150% weapon damage as well when you attack. Lastly, for our passives, we've got awareness. This is a must-have. I never leave home without it. Awareness is important because you want that extra life, especially if you're going to be in those higher greater rifts. You're going to want to be able to keep it going as long as you can, and you'll be able to have access to that once every 60 seconds. Now let's go ahead and move on over into our gear here. You'll see here we're using the Crider Shot Bow. Elemental Arrow now generates 3 hatred. We'll go back and we'll look at our skills. This is what we're going to be using to gain hatred when we're all out of cluster arrow, maelstrom ammunition, if you will. So you're going to want to be shooting the Crider shots only when you need to, which is going to be probably pretty often because we're going to be refilling, any amount of hatred that we have left over between our preparation and our Bat Companion, I believe it was. This will be doing the job, filling in the rest of the hatred that we're missing. Obviously, you've got the Bombardier's Rucksack. This is going to give us 2 additional sentries. One thing I want to mention about the Crider Shot too, I heard that the drop rates for these more rare items are going to be increased, so you'll probably have a better chance of finding one now that the new patch has dropped, so be on the lookout for that. And I'll go ahead and talk about the enchantments we have on here. We got fire damage, 10% damage, dexterity, and an increased attack speed. For our Bombardier's Rucksack, 2 additional sentries, attack speed increase, 15% life, crit hit chance, and got some sentry damage rolled on there. I'm wearing these bracers too, the Reaper's Wraps. These are important to this build because the health globes are going to restore 29% of your primary resource. I believe it goes up to 30. So you can just craft some of those if you would prefer to have a complete 30%. But these are important. Health globes drop quite a bit, so you're going to want to have those to restore some of that hatred for you, especially using that cluster arrow. Because once you guys try this cluster arrow, once you see it, man, you'll just see how much hatred you're going to need to refill. So that's pretty much what our gear is going to focus on, and our skills are going to focus on, is regenerating our hatred as often as we can. And these are definitely going to help. Here we've got a Witching Hour with dexterity, vitality. We've got a bit of attack speed on there and crit hit damage. So it's a good belt, hard belt to find, but if you can find one, definitely use that for this build. Here you see we've got some Frost Burns. Now our Frost Burns are going to be used in conjunction with our Elemental Arrow here. Since it's chilling, you'll see that the Frost Arrow, or that the Frost Burns, your cold damage has a 41% chance to freeze enemies. This is excellent crowd control, and that's a pretty decent percentage too. So you'll often come across enemies that you'll see are frozen. And these I only have 1 pair of. I don't know how hard they are to find, but you see I've got cold skills, 12% more damage. Got some dexterity, some vitality, and crit hit chance on those. For our jewelry, we'll talk about our jewelry real quick before we get into the Marauder set. I've got a Ring of Royal Grandeur, allowing me to have the all 6-piece bonus of the Marauder set with only 5 pieces. I've got dexterity, attack speed, reduce all resource costs on there. And guys, you're going to want to make sure that you can roll reduce resource costs anytime you can, because it's really going to help out a lot with this build. That's one of the things I'm going to be working on for my gear, is rolling as much resource cost reduction as I can. But I've got a Bane of the Trap gem in there. It's going to increase damage against enemies under the effects of controlled parrying effects by 22.5%. So basically, any enemies that you're going to be hitting with your Elemental Arrow, that's going to come into play there. I've got the Compass Rose used here in conjunction with the Traveler's Pledge for that 50% increased crit hit damage. And in that gem, I've got an Enforcer, or in that ring, excuse me, I've got an Enforcer gem. It's going to increase the damage of my pets by 22.5% as well. And you'll see as a secondary, your pets are going to take 25% less damage. Now, moving on to our Marauders. You see I've got the helm, I've got the shoulders, the chest, the pants, and the boots. On the boots, we've got Dex, Vit, Armor, we've got Elemental Arrow damage increase. In the pants here, we've got Dexterity, Vitality, a little bit of life regeneration. We could probably change that up a little bit. So we'll go over here real quick and see what we can actually throw on that. Oh. Yeah, nothing really great. So I guess these pants are good as is. Life regeneration, that's about as good as the pants are going to get. We've got our Marauders chest piece here, dexterity, vitality, 100% resist all, or 100% resistance to all elements. On our helmet, dexterity, vitality, crit hit chance, and we've also got a 12.5% cooldown reduction gem in there. Then we've got some sentry damage, some resource cost reduction, dexterity, 15% life on our shoulders here. Now, they made a change to the Marauder set. This is important to note. At 2 pieces, you're going to get companions. Call all companions to your side. 4 pieces, sentries cast your hatred spinners when you do. And the 6-piece set, your generators, which are Elemental Arrow, Chakram, Impale, Multi-Shot, and Cluster Arrow deal 100% increased damage for every sentry active. So, you know, you've got 3 sentries down here, you're going to be doing 300% extra damage right there with those hatred spinners that it mentioned here in the description of the Marauders. So you're definitely going to keep as many sentries down at a time as you can to get that extra damage there. So that's the great thing about this build. You know, you're going to be casting the Cluster Arrow with the Maelstrom. You're going to be getting out of that. But the Frost Arrow is also a really good skill to be using in your sentries too, because they do quite a bit of damage. And you're also going to be slowing and doing all that stuff, possibly freezing with the Frost Burns. So you've really got 2 really good skills here that are going to be shot out of your arrows. And with that Crider Shot Bow, one of them's not even going to count as Spinning Hatred. So that's what makes this build so great. 2 great skills, one of them not costing any hatred. And the one that does cost the hatred, it's going to be doing a ton of damage for you. Let's go ahead real quick. We'll get into our Paragon points, and then that'll probably be the end of this video. I'll go ahead, like I said, and we'll show you some gameplay of the build in action. For our core points, we're going to adjust moving speed accordingly. Remember that your ferrets are going to have 10% already, so adjust that accordingly. I'm probably going to want to put most of it in dexterity. I've got it split between dexterity and vitality. There was a time when I had really low vitality and I just wanted a little bit of extra. But you're definitely going to want to max out your hatred first. So we'll do movement speed, hatred, and then we'll throw the rest in dexterity or vitality, wherever you're lacking. And then we'll go over here to offense. I've got crit hit chance, crit hit damage, just trying to get my DPS up. And then I've started, most of them, the rest of them are in attack speed, and I've also got a little bit in cooldown reduction. The cooldowns on this build, you know, that the skills that you're going to be using aren't very long. So you can have a little bit of cooldown if you want. I've got the 12.5% in the helm here, and that seems to be good enough for me. We'll go on over here to defense. I've got resist all, armor, then into life next, and lastly we've got utility, life on hit, resource cost reduction, and I've started filling up the area damage. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll show you some footage of this build in action. Alright guys, we're going to go ahead, we're going to pay our friend the Butcher a visit, and you can just see here that cluster arrow, you know, with that ballistics passive, everything, it pretty much just took those guys out with no problem. Sure, they were trash mobs, but this is what we're going for here. We're gonna go see what our friend the Butcher thinks about our build. And like I said too, it's gonna be important that you guys put as much resource cost reduction into your gear as you can. That's the main stat I'm gonna be looking for, because you want to be able to spam cluster arrow as much as possible. Throw some sentries down this way. Looks like we got an elite right there. We don't want that to happen. We'll get out of danger here. I really hate those mortars, like with a passion. Go and get this health globe here, restore some of that. And you see that elite went down pretty easily. I always told myself I was gonna make myself remember where the Butcher hid. But you see, after you pop off those few cluster arrows, just start hitting them with your elemental arrow and they're still gonna be going down. No problems. Excuse me, let me come in. Here we go here. See how many sentries we got. We'll let one of our sentries fill back up here. Go and throw these 3 down. Get another one in there. Pop that open. Throw these back on. Check it out. I mean, just like that. Champion elite down. No problems whatsoever. Now let's make our way to the butcher. See what these guys have to say. Just look at this, just massive damage we're doing here. These guys don't even stand a chance. Go and finish them off there. Load up some hatred with our preparation. And I just hope you guys can see how this all works. We've actually made it to the butcher pretty quickly. I'm happy with our time. We'll go ahead and let him do his little intro thing. We'll get our sentries down. And then we will continue to dominate. Just look at that. We'll make sure we stay out of the way. Pop another sentry down. Nope, you're not going to get us today, Butcher. Sorry about your luck. One more sentry down. We should be good here. I wish I could have got a few more cluster arrows off on him. But even still, you can see those elemental arrows by themselves were doing just fine. So there it is, guys. That's it. That's the build. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like the video if you learned something, if you're going to give this build a try. If there's any other builds that you've been messing around with in the PTR that you have enjoyed, please feel free to let me know in the comments below. I'm always looking to try out different builds. But I guess that's it. Like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Subscribe because I will be putting out more build videos to bring in patch 2.1.2. Got a wizard video, a couple of witch doctor videos in mind as well, and probably do another demon hunter video, except a fire build this time. And I guess that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, thanks for watching. You all stay beastin'. Till next time, peace out.